Let me just start recording. And then I think we've got about, the Z Zooms are 40 minutes. If we get cut off, I'll just send you another invite and we'll.
Oh, great. It's all super. I've even brought a cup of tea.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Well, listen, so look, talk. So I guess, look, I'm really pleased to welcome you to the show, Mike. Ladies and gents, Mike is the creator of a fantastic new album, Everything's Balearic When You Believe, which came out about a week ago, Mike?
It came out on Blue Monday. Yes, so yeah, Monday the 15th of January, yeah.
Blue Monday. And I have to say, I've just been saying before our interview started here, but it did kind of blow me away. Everything about it kind of resonated with me. I'm going to be playing some tracks on the show anyway for people that haven't yet heard it, but every track, it's kind of just, it's just got that variety and that richness, and it's got a bit of everything, a bit of prog, a bit of psych, a bit of cosmic, a bit of chug. It's got everything that I love about really what for me is Balearic. So listen, without further ado, I mean, Mike, do you want to just sort of tell us a little bit about yourself and how you came to make this album?
Yeah, go wild, Chris. Thank you so much. And thank you to all the listeners out there and the opportunity. First of all, I just want to thank you for just responding to music. So music is a call or response. When you make music, and this is the studio, I'm making it in here, but when you make music, you make it to get an emotional response from folk and from yourself, first of all, and then to kind of that moment, I don't care who you are, there's a moment of kind of anxiety. Is that any good? Will people like it? First of all, do I like it myself? And then the whole creative process is quite a torturous piece. So, my name is Mike Wilson, and this project is under the name 100 Poems, and there's an Irish character. That's Seamus Healy's compilation of poetry is 100 Poems. You can probably tell from my accent. This is my studio here in a little village called Rathangan, about 50 kilometers west of Dublin. And I spent a year writing and recording, a little over a year maybe, there's different bits and bobs, but about a year putting the album together during 2023 with the intention of releasing it on what they call the most depressing day of the year, 2024 in January, because a little ray of positivity and hope and sunshine, Chris. And I called it Everything's Balearic When You Believe, because it's a funny old scene, Balearic, and you love Balearic music, we love Balearic music, but like, is it Balearic? What is Balearic? What is it? And I thought, well, look, everything is, because it's an attitude. I think it's a vibe. It's a mixing pot of all of those things together. So the intention from the very beginning, the offset, Chris, of the project was produce something that would demand an emotional response from folk who might like it, had a really different range of music on it that took you on a journey across all the things you touched on, and to bring a little bit of positivity and sunshine out there in the cold, wintry January nights here in Ireland.
Well, listen, fantastic. I mean, I think you've definitely succeeded, and I mean, it works. I think I really can't wait to play some of the tracks out and about. But even just on the dog walk for the last week, I've had it on, and it just works so well. I'm kind of strolling around, West London, and just had it in the headphones, and it's just been fantastic. So I mean, how long did it kind of take you then to? Well, let's go back a step then. So when did you start making music, and what's your kind of creative process?
That's a really great question. So my father's a musician.
Right.
So I started, I vividly remember like making music properly in a home studio at the age of 12, probably. Okay. A home tape recorders and guitars and reel-to-reels and taking apart headphones and making microphones out of headphones, what everyone kind of did in early electronics. So a huge influence on me was Martin Ware and Travelogue and the Human League and early electronic music. Prior to that, Chris, I think it's my dad's records. I was listening to the Beatles, listening to Jean-Michel Jarre. I remember that. I remember Hot Butter Popcorn and these kind of iconic. At the time, I knew there was something amazing with Ennio Morricone and all these records. And so I was consumed by music. My mum's an Irish dancing music champion. My dad's a musician. My uncle was a drummer in a band. So I grew up in a very typical Irish household. and massively encouraged to play music from, I think I started playing when I was about seven, maybe 7 or 8, properly, not properly, but, 3 chords. When you got 3 chords, you got a good night out, that's all you need. That was an Irish ballad song just there. But so it started from there. And then I guess on that journey to the great questions, that was the process. Then it gets a bit more serious because you're in your teenage years in bands, and I was in lots of very dodgy 80s bands with like really dodgy names. I was
And
in a
big
band.
hair.
Yeah, I was like, I tell you how precocious and pretentious. I was in a band called Utopia Now,
Oh,
and you had UN, and we had a pirate radio station called UN Radio, and and we built transmitters, learning how to do pirate radio, so pre Acid House, I guess, just in the mid 80s, and so the sort of process of writing music always been there, and then I think where it got really serious, or where it got really not so much serious, where it really got enabled, I think, is this intersection of three things that happened in my life, Chris.
yeah.
On my age, I'd got through the process of raising children, getting to the other side. I'm 55, so I've gone through that process, because you do your party years. We had our first son, Oscar, at 30, and then suddenly it's okay. The party's sort of, you got a different stage of your life with
Yeah.
children and juggling and careers and stuff.
Yeah.
So I think the three intersections of why the creative process at this time, Chris, was kids. Secondly, technology. The technology that we have our hands on now, I think that is just absolutely incredibly creative tools. And then thirdly, the distribution mechanisms, Bandcamp or social media or blogging. So I think all those three things came together that enabled to put you in the environment, and then say, do you know what? Now you can create these projects, and you can commit things, and bring them to life, and bring them to an audience.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you sort of touched upon a few early influences there, but I'm guessing you kind of you mentioned acid house as well. So I'm guessing you and we've probably shared dance floors at one stage or another.
100%, yeah,
You
yeah.
know, Saber Sonic, or
100% is my favorite night, yeah.
right, okay. And then obviously, I think Weather Andrew is a big influence on a lot of our tastes. Andrew Weatherall.
Yeah, yeah. I actually think, for me, my first taste of, there's something really illicit about underground music at that time. But my first taste, that was in the mid 80s in a gay club in Ireland called Sides in 86. And homosexuality was illegal in Ireland. And I was a straight guy in a gay club,
Yeah,
gay friends.
yeah,
And but it was a real taste of hedonism and music and gay black disco and high energy. And this is 86, 87. And
yeah.
everything was like really dangerous and wild and new. And then I didn't know it was going to be called house music, but we knew something was coming.
Yeah.
There was something in the air. The music was changing, 84, 86. We didn't quite know what was going to happen, Chris. I'm sure you didn't either, but you just knew a spaceship was arriving. But that spaceship was Schumann, arrived via Eveything in London. So I went to London. That was it, seeking all of that.
And just so in these gay Irish clubs back then, I mean, I don't know, do you remember who was DJing? Was Noel Watson and his brother on the scene there, or were they already in London at that stage?
No, I don't know Noel. So these are all the guys. So it was Paul Hegarty. There was a guys in Sides. It was the name, but there was only one club we went to, Sides, and that was the only club. There wasn't like a big clubbing scene, because gay homosexuality was illegal. It was an illegal club. So it wasn't like there was a dozen clubs to go to, or it wasn't. That wasn't the scene at all. And then when I arrived in London in 88, everything kind of changed. The story. I mean, even I remember the Camden Palace in 88 in Acid House was just incredible, really, Then the underground party scene, So I came, Chris, from the guy dancing in front of the decks to want to be the one behind the decks and DJing. And that was a great transition. As soon as you get a pair of set of 1210s, I can see your decks there. They're the biggest time traveling machine, because you turn them on and lose a day, They're a time traveling device,
Yeah, we've all been there. There. So, I mean, and then obviously so you lived in London through the 90s. Is that how it, when did you?
Yeah, through the 80s and through the 90s. And then we moved outside of London later. Children moved out into the countryside of Suffolk. And then I moved back to Dublin here in 2012.
Okay.
with our three boys to raise the boys back in Ireland. But also, there's a yearning back. I don't know if any of your listeners are in Dublin or have been to Dublin, but it's just the best place for music, the best place for the crack.
Yeah.
Every genre, it's just a really fun city, and it's a city that really champions the arts. Even in my village, there's 6 pubs, 4 of which have live music in
Wow.
them. Like,
Yeah.
so it's a very in different environment. I think and it harks back maybe to like London's lost a lot of smaller venues,
Yeah,
and
it's terrible. It's a real shame, really. And I think
oh,
it's really hard.
like
Yeah,
that.
I think it's really hard now, particularly in London and even Brighton to a certain extent, where the radio show is obviously transmitted from. But those kind of medium-sized, small to medium-sized venues that were the lifeblood of the nightlife scene really have just disappeared now. The running costs have made it prohibitive,
Yeah.
licensing issues in certain places as well. And I don't know whether they're just the kids these days, they want these massive, it's almost festival-like experiences that look good on Instagram or what have you. I don't know, but
Yeah, do you know what? I do like the fact that we straight away in front talk about the kids these days, and as fathers of children and stuff. And I've got, my eldest 2 lads are mad into music. The eldest lad's mad into his dance music and stuff.
yeah,
But I think a lot of it changed. There's a lot of innocence, when it was vinyl only records were. There wasn't that many records either. You sometimes you go out and you trade same tune played 3 times. It was great, it's a big tune, and everyone have it. But there was something very precious about it, and there was a free party movement, and a lot of the promoters I knew that was running underground parties never made any money. They'd make money on the cloakroom and on the water, but there
yeah,
wasn't that kind of, I guess Clockwork Orange and Cream and these like super clubs happened, and Ministry they're more merchandising machines. I mean, Clockwork Orange and Friends are great parties and stuff, and they put on
yeah,
great nights, but I was more underground. I was in a
yeah.
field somewhere in a warehouse or a bus garage somewhere in Hackney.
Yeah, likewise. So going back to the album then. I mean,
Yeah.
in terms of, so I'm taking it did you play all the instruments on the
Played all the instruments.
album?
There's 2 remixes. So Hyson Green, the blues guitar on the first one called Hyson Green and Shine,
Yeah.
is from my friend David Osborne. But all the other instrumentation I played and wrote and produced.
Wow.
And then Michael Ladd did the lyric from the Dead Can Rap on Imitations with Remy Ruff. Shout out to Remy Ruff and Michael Ladd and David Osborne, amazing.
I love that
And
track. That's just that real lovely chuggy kind of.
yeah. It's just really, really fantastic. And then just there's something about that tempo when it chugs and it drops and the vocal comes in and comes back in again.
Yeah.
It's just thank you very much. I took great, huge pleasure in that.
But
So
I think just that rapping just almost comes out of nowhere, and it's just
yeah,
so.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
almost kind of got that kind of most deaf feel to it from the '90s, and it's just
Yeah,
so
yeah,
good.
yeah.
And it's
Yeah,
it's
oh, thank you. Yeah.
it's just a real refreshing take on it, I think, and it works really well. So
I ask you a question. Do you listen to it as an album? Do you put on to the
yeah,
beginning of
it's the first album I've actually listened from start to finish,
yeah.
but I can't remember how long. And again, that's credit to you, the programming. It just kept. I mean, I think as well. It's what 53 minutes or so long, so
Yeah.
it's not overly time
Overblown? Yeah.
consuming, and yeah, it just flows really nicely for
I'm
me.
really glad you said that, Chris, because that none of that was by chance. There's a chance with music, it's true. But I wanted. Do you remember there was this kind of time you'd have the A side and the B side? You'd have like a nighttime and daytime, or
Yeah,
this or that, or the 12 would be this. And so the idea was there was 3 that was one, and then there's the slower tune or greater love, and then the 3 that are that, and it was kind of
yeah,
written in that kind of way as a theme that would end with the last song that you say, put it back to the beginning, press play again. So
yeah. No, it really. I mean, it really is. And I said that to some friends. I'm like, look, I've literally played it 20 times since I heard it first, and
oh, great.
I mean, it's on. I have it on the tube everywhere. So, I mean, look, it's always hard when it's your baby, but if you had to pick a favorite track or a favorite 3 on the album, if you
Yeah,
can,
yeah. I mean, really, there are things that are very personal to me that I like, and one was Tim and Faya, which is the second track.
That's my personal fave, I think.
Oh, oh, good. I didn't know that. But that is Timon Fair is the name of the national park in Lanzarote,
Ah,
which is a
okay.
volcanic park. And Lanzarote in the Canary Islands, we
Yeah.
really love. And I wrote that sketch on the beach on my laptop on my Mac. And so I just thought Timon Fair because it has a very unusual structure and chord. You would have noticed that there's a lot of chords and musicality in the album. I like chords and I like melodies and
Yeah, yeah.
that would be important here, like a middle eight and a bridge. And it might sound very old fashioned kind of composition, but I do sit down and write on guitar and then I transpose it electronics and
Okay.
that would be an important part of the process. So I think that's a particular favorite. No Greater Love, I really enjoy because of the production to it, and it's a bit slower and back, and then Paint the Sky, the last one.
Yeah.
The it's so powerful and psych,
No, I
kind
love
of
it. It's
sad blues, like it's psychedelic kind of. The video that goes with that we're releasing, I've made video. I like making videos. The video goes out is wild. I'll send you the
I
video.
think you
So
sent me that one. Is that the one with the kaleidoscope?
yeah, the kaleidoscope is
Yeah,
wild.
yeah, it's great. But it is one of those songs you can just kind of lose yourself in and
Yeah, that's why.
takes you on a bit of a journey, the psychedelicness of
Yeah,
it. I
oh,
mean,
thank
that for
you.
me,
Yeah,
that sort of sound is really what I strive to play, and just tracks that almost overwhelm you with.
yeah.
Sonically, I think for me is really what. But yeah, the Tim and Fire. That was when I've got to give a shout out here to Dave Freeland.
Yeah, absolutely. What a
Who
guy. Fantastic
who's
man.
David Freeland from Sundowners in Woodbridge, who kind of he's part of a little DJ collective we've got, and he kind of introduced us all to your album on release day. And he said, "Look, you've got to check this out." And Tim and Fire was like, "Wow, this is just amazing." But yeah, well, that's good. Yeah, because I mean, it is hard, I think, sometimes to pick a fave. But yeah, I think you probably picked probably my three favorites there as well.
Oh, brilliant.
I mean, Shine. I think
I
Shine a Light as well. I think works really well for me.
Great, yeah, and it has that way it drops and comes back in again, and it really, really great. So yeah, I love it all, and I have to tell you as well, I absolutely love the process of writing it all. I mean, it's kind of funny. You'll notice, Chris. I'm sure a lot of folk who either make music or produce or DJ, when you're a solo creative, you're writing it, you're playing it, you're engineering it, you're producing it, you're mastering it, you're doing everything yourself. So it's only your ears, and it's not. I sometimes kind of think in a rock and roll band, you got a drummer, a bass guitarist, and they're vibing off each other, and there's great energy in the room, and they somehow manage to get that energy onto a record together. It's really great, You get it, but you don't have that when it's just you sitting down with your synths and you're doing everything, So
yeah, it's quite hard to be that barometer sometimes, isn't it? And I think you might. And do you go through that process of playing the album, the finished tracks on, or the almost finished tracks on different speakers to see whether it works well in the car, whether it works well on?
I did this funny. I was probably listening to my wife. I remember sitting in my dad's car with cassettes when I was a kid, playing cassettes and demos and stuff. Yeah. But so I do a little bit of that, and when I get to, but then what I've learned to try and do is trust the process, and kind of trust your ears, which is a really difficult thing to do. But it's kind of trust it. Look, it's done now. Trust it.
I think that's the perennial problem, isn't it? No producer ever thinks their record is truly finished, but you've just got to sometimes go, right, that's it. I can't do any more.
Does it sound to you, Chris? Does it sound good to you?
Sounds great. It sounds fantastic, And I'm in the process of making my own album at the minute with Leo. I don't know if you know Leo Elstop, Leo Zero.
Okay, yeah, no name.
I mean, he's a great producer. So he's kind of my, I guess, man that sort of works the controls or whatever. I just tell him what I want to do, but he's the one that's. I mean, I'm not a musician by profession or training, but I'm enjoying the process. So we'll see
It's
where that
amazing.
comes out. So in
That's
terms of, so it's talking about the album again. So the instrument. So you've got guitar on there, piano. What keep.
piano. My Korg MS-20 that I've had since I was 14 is over in the corner.
Okay.
I use a lot of soft synths, so
Yeah.
virtual synths. I use a little bit of outboard, but if you just 1 second, we come over here. I've got lots of different Gretches and
Oh wow.
so there's 3 or 4 different guitars. There's Takamines. We've got about 30 guitars between the family.
Wow.
So I'll swap the guitars and instrumentation out for different tracks or different projects.
Yeah.
So and I'll swap to my dad's a house full of guitars and different instruments, ukuleles,
Yeah.
banjos, so and bowrons. So I kind of but they all start with a guitar. They all start with some chords and they all start with a melody line.
Yeah.
Which is it's kind of and only the synths come not a little later in the process, but I'll actually record the guitar parts down and then go to synths and say, okay, what the electronics, how that might work and sit together. And I try not to rely too much on samples if I can.
Yeah.
The thing I'm very, very, very into is the drumming. So there's most of that drums are played. So the played in keyboard. I
Okay.
try not to use sample drums.
Yeah, yeah.
So
So you're creating your own beats.
so you might, I don't know if you've heard about it, sounds like a drummer. So a
Yeah,
lot of
yeah,
it sound, and that was again very important with the bass. So even though it's electric bass, I like synth bass,
yeah.
I'll play real bass and then I'll try and just to give it a groove,
Well, I think as well, it kind of adds a little bit of looseness to it as well.
Yeah,
Sometimes it can be too formulaic, and if
yeah.
it's all done out the
Contours is
box.
the biggest pain in the behind. You got to be super careful because you kind of lose a groove. Yeah, I couldn't
Yeah, yeah,
you
no,
just
absolutely.
do everything. Yeah.
You need the odd like little note that's a little bit stiff in
A
the
little
beat,
bit of
or just
marketing, a little bit of forgiving. What else was there? Is there anything else that I could say? There's a couple of shout outs. I have to shout out to Richard Norris from The Grid.
yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
he has been incredibly helpful to me. And John Fugler from Fluke.
Okay,
Had a couple, I'm part of a kind of Irish synth heads gang as well. We all help each other out. But Richard was incredibly helpful to me with some advice and some guidance, particularly when it came to mastering. And
right.
John from Fluke is a very dear friend when it came to sidechain compression and technical stuff,
Yeah,
And I was, so I had a couple of trusted folk I'd go to and say, hey, would you listen to this? And, where's and so they would say, oh, actually put a bit aside now. And so, okay, right. So I'd go back and tinkering back in my laboratory again.
Well, you probably couldn't have asked for two better ears to listen. Because I mean, Richard Lewis is obviously a bit of a legend, and
Yeah,
the Beyond the Wizard sleeve stuff and all that kind of
incredible. Yeah, incredible. In
amazing.
fact, I just arrived at the post was my Article Sound
Oh,
T-shirt.
amazing! Yeah, yeah, brilliant.
So I should have been wearing that for the interview, really. Rich was incredibly helpful. And then John, I was John's a very dear friend. That time, the Saga Centre and Fluke and everything that was happening there with Blue Source and Junior Boys Own. And, that was our party scene, Chris. Every week we'd be out. Weekend started on a Friday and finished, Monday.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Full
I mean,
circle
it's
and all that.
yeah, no, absolutely. Well, so yeah, I mean, yeah, Boys Own was kind of. I'm sure we've probably shared a Boys Own dance floor.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and so that was it. And then when you shout out for Dave Freeland, which was an amazing episode, and it just what Dave's done and all that crew has just been amazing, Christopher. And John and all the Balearic Burger, John and Martin from Balearic Burger, just incredible, really. And I think what happened with the album, I don't know, but I think it's because it's honest. It's an honest bit of 7 tracks. It is what it is. There's no label support, and it was at #2 in the best-selling album on Bandcamp.
Yeah, it's phenomenal, and I think it's just created this kind of its own momentum. And I thought I didn't actually realize initially that you were doing it as a charity release as well.
Yeah.
Let me just move this. Sorry, I've got this thing in there. So the talk. Do you want to talk a bit? So it's Shelter and
Jigsaw, yeah. So release some Blue Monday, free to anyone that wants it and can't afford it and enjoy it, and music for healing. And there's two charities we collect for. One is Jigsaw, which is an Irish charity that works with youth mental health, and one is Shelter that works with the homeless. Of course, they're incredible with the homeless. And then, it's all proceeds are going to that, which very. I thought that was something very important as well, actually, to tell you the truth. That was a big driver to maybe it's in the spirit of that kind of DIY, do-it-yourself, free party movement, Chris, where that kind of banging bass, smiling face, loving race.
Well, no, I think it's fantastic, and I think it's I think everyone that I've sent it to or shared it with has gone, wow, yeah, it's and hopefully everyone's chucking in a few quid if they can afford to do so.
We've raised hundreds of pounds, and really hundreds and hundreds, which is amazing. And it's just been incredible. If the truth be told, it's a bit overwhelming as well. In a very nice way, but it's a little bit. And I got all these lovely messages, and I had a message from a chap who said he had a terrible night's sleep because his neighbours were really, really noisy. If you see his review on Bandcamp,
I saw it on Bandcamp, yeah.
He said, and I discovered his album in the morning, and it just made me feel so good. I just thought, what a lovely message to say.
I mean, I think it's great that it is. I can imagine it is overwhelming, but I think in modern society where so much music is released on a daily basis, there's almost like a deluge of it, and I find sometimes I'm overwhelmed by just the sheer volume of stuff that I'm sent, and I sometimes have to step away from it. It's great that you've managed to get that traction and that get it noticed.
Yeah.
We've got the kind of Balearic scene, or whatever you want to call it these days, the Balearic network. It's still out there. And I think for something without any label support, or and it's self-produced and self-promoted, I think it's been phenomenal.
That's you know what I mean? I think everybody's Balearic when you believe. Isn't it? The artwork, I gotta shout out to Jez Black, my dear friend who did the artwork. That's the album cover is actually a picture of the village, and each of the tracks is an iconic picture of Eveything married with a picture from Ireland. So there's this yin and yang. So it's the picture of my village leading off to the White Island, but they're 1970s Eveything postcards, which I thought was a bit of crack as well, a bit of fun.
Brilliant. Sorry, carry on.
But I better shout out as well Mark Broadbent and Andy Wilson in Ibiza, because they've been fantastic as well. Mark was one of the first to play out some of my tunes, and Andy Wilson too has been hugely supportive. There's so many people to thank. You can Samantha Bragg, there's like loads of folk, and I'm sure I'm going to forget Graham. I've got some great projects coming up. Yeah, Graham Newby, I've got he sent me some stuff I'm going to remix, and we've got something on the charity of Ramrock Records coming out in the summer, and there's like loads of like projects and stuff happening. So it's all so exciting.
That's brilliant. I think it's brilliant, and I think you all credits where credit's due. You're a highly talented musician, and I think it's just fantastic. And I wish you all the very best with it, and I hope the momentum continues. And listen, everything is Balearic when you believe.
Yeah, everything's Balearic. And look, a shout out again to David Osborne from Hyson Green, and to the Dead Can Rap, to Remy Ruff and Mike Ladd. A huge shout out to everyone who supported me, and again, as I say, a huge thank you to you, Chris. Just you can get like in COVID times where you can sit in a room. This is my studio, which I'm very like 240 square foot. I built it in the garden. It's really lovely. It's something I've always dreamed of. You can come in here and play my synthesizers or my guitars or play my music, but you're in your zone here doing it. But music is meant to share. It's meant to trigger an emotional response and have fun together. And when that happens, it's something completely magical. It's unbelievable.
It really is. And look, everyone out there, please go and check out the album. Mike Wilson, 100 poems, everything's Balearic when you believe, on Bandcamp. All proceeds, if you can afford to chuck a few quid in, please do so. All the money is going to charity. And Mike, thanks again a million.
You're welcome.
For joining me on the very first interview on the Balearic Breakfast Show, and also just for yeah, giving us this amazing album. So thanks again.
Oh, amazing. And can I give the last, my No Greater Love is for my wife Tracy, so that's
Of
one of
course,
my
of
favorites too, of
course.
course. But my last little word I want to shout is Martin Ware from Heaven 17 and the Human League. The Human League's traveling on Martin Ware did to me change my life, and that's why I bought my Korg MS-20. And
Wow.
I got much later in life to know Martin as a friend and did some stuff for Martin and stuff. So, Martin, homegrown boy made good.
Mike, it's been a pleasure. Thanks for
And thank
joining
you very
us.
much, Chris.
All right.
God bless. Cheers. Bye.
Cheers.